This week we have two recommended readings. The first is a location quotient approach to producing regional production multipliers for the Irish economy. That title is a mouthful. But this paper is a good example of how regional economists deal with missing data. And I think it was a good exercise to go through some papers that are like, this is how we do it. And then one that actually shows you how it's done, how it's applied like in practice. But something that I like about it, dealing with missing data, because as economists, we often suffer from data limitations and we need to find ways around it. Sometimes we have to get creative. Now, in regional economics, we often want to estimate multipliers. So what happens to jobs or output or something like that when a new factory opens or when an industry expands. But most regions don't have full input-output tables for us to work with. That data just is not available to us. So the question becomes, how do we estimate multipliers when we don't have complete data? And this paper provides one of the most widely used solutions to that. So full input-output models give us the most accurate multipliers, but they can be expensive to gather and time-intensive to build. Analysts often use location quotients to estimate whether industries are export-oriented and export out of the industry or out of the small region, not out of the country. Early location quotient methods were adopted to estimate multipliers, but they overestimated the multiplier size, and they especially did so in small regions. The reason they did this in small regions so much is because they assumed that regions produce more of their own inputs than they really did. So the authors introduce a modified version of the location quotient. They call it the flag location quotient. And this adjusts the location quotient based on region size. So for this, the smaller the region, the more the inputs that goes into the final products that they have to import from outside. So what this does is produces a more realistic set of multipliers, especially for smaller or more open regional economies. I worked for a family dorm furniture manufacturing business. I loaded trucks for them as a summer job when I was in college, and they proudly built in the USA. But all of their inputs, all the wood was from the US, but the nuts, the bolts, the L rings in the corner, these were all those materials they bought from overseas from someone else producing them. So it's much more realistic to assume that these small areas aren't making every single input that goes into their products. And this makes it much more accurate by doing that. And this article shows creative ways of regional scientists work when data are incomplete, which is basically always it's going to be incomplete. So this form of location quotient is still widely used today, especially in regional impact analyses and feasibility studies and all throughout like consulting works like outside of academia and stuff. And this is one of the most cited papers in this methodological area because it offers a practical fix to real data problems. Now, I'm not really going to cover the second recommended reading. It has some great information for you, but I couldn't find a good PDF and one that I could like legally share with you. But everything that's covered in this like basically chapter of this book going through regional economics and regional science, all that material we've read in other places in this chapter. So it wouldn't be adding anything new. You're not missing anything in that regard. But I still want to include that it's on here because it's on most of the WVU regional econ courses reading lists.